Well, there's a face I'm not used to seeing on the training grounds. Something wrong, Hubert?
I have merely come to examine the equipment. I hear whispers that it is in quite the state. Further, my being here should come as no surprise. Her Majesty and I train in these grounds often.
I never would have guessed. Can't say I'm not jealous, though.
Shall I put in a request with Her Majesty on your behalf? I'm quite certain she'd join you.
Nah, that's all right. Maybe she'd throw me a bone from time to time, but that wouldn't make us training buddies the way you two apparently are.
Ah. Well, it is true this has been a long-running custom of ours. In any case, if you do desire a session with either myself or Her Majesty, you only need ask. A mercenary with no backing such as yourself has much to gain by earning Lady Edelgard's favor. Of course, we would not be without benefit. Your rise in standing would paint an ideal picture for our people.
How do you mean?
Many commoners crave progress, a path upward in life, and your example would prove that path exists. The common folk would never expect to see their emperor train alongside someone of your dubious origins. At least not outside the pages of a fairy tale.
Dubious origins? A little harsh, don't you think? Still, doesn't sound too bad if I can use that to help lift people up.
On the other hand, your presence would also cause great turmoil amongst the elites of our society. They may even despise you. A symbol of the ungrateful commoner, granted privilege well beyond their station.
But hey, Dorothea's a commoner too. Why don't they hate her?
Dorothea is a famed former songstress, well esteemed in the upper echelons of society. Your situation is vastly different.
Right. Well, no point worrying about it if it's gonna happen no matter what.
Precisely. Things may yet change in the years ahead, but for now all we can do is live with it.
So, coddling the elites means the commoners end up oppressed, while hoisting commoners up only agitates the elites. Glad I'm not the one who has to rule the Empire. This whole thing sounds like a total mess.
A mess, indeed.
In that case, you should just keep picking commoners like me for all the important jobs. Strength in numbers, right? The more of us there are, the less anyone will be able to complain.
I believe your point to be a sound one, but putting it into action will only heighten our chance of failure. Try as you may to troll a river for jewels, you will most often find yourself hauling up mere pebbles instead.
I get what you mean, I think. Accidentally picking the wrong person could really hurt the Emperor's reputation.
And provide the perfect opening for nobles who want nothing more than for commoners to be kept in their place. An utter disgrace. Here we stand amidst the flames of war, yet some on our side only seek to drag their compatriots down. There is no rot as fetid as that which plagues our foul aristocracy. It would not surprise me if they breathed noxious fumes.
I mean, it's not like they're literally poisonous.
Are you so sure? Spend an hour in the same room with some of them and see if you don't feel the life being choked out of you. At any rate, it seems you must be the one to plow forward, for the time being.
Come again?
You are a mercenary, Captain, no? Surely there are worthy candidates for promotion among your subordinates. The situation would be far less volatile if any potential appointees came with your direct endorsement.
Oh, good. No pressure at all. And if the person I pick doesn't work out?
Assuming they are not wholly indefensible, we would do our utmost to shield them from criticism. Though I suppose if worst came to worst, we would be forced to sever ties with them. And you.
That's cold-blooded, Hubert. I'm not sure I'm up to the challenge, knowing what's at risk.
Nobody is forcing you to pick someone. If you think it impossible, I will not try to convince you otherwise.
Right, got it. I guess in the meantime, I'll let you know if I think of anyone who might be able to handle the job. Oh, and let's keep the whole severing ties thing to the real worst-case scenario, okay? You might look the calm and logical type, but I know your emotions can get the better of you sometimes.
Keener insight than I expected. Perhaps you truly are the right person for this task. Quite the eye you have on you.
Thanks? My vision's not too bad, I guess.
Now, if you could only pair it with some intellect, we would have a true wonder on our hands.
Yeah, why are you always doing that?
A question, if I may. Have you had any further contact with our slithering friends since that day?
Not in the slightest. Why? Do you know something?
Yes, actually. What with the riots in Rim territory and the former Duke Ayer's attempted rebellion. Thanks to that, we now have a lead on the insurgents within the Empire, as well as those who slither in the dark. Speaking to the latter, I also tried to determine if they had been attempting to reach you, or otherwise thought you an ally. But at present, it seems neither is the case, regrettably.
At present? Still don't trust me, do you? In our conversations, the future of the Empire, promoting commoners, I would have hoped you'd ease up at least a little after all that.
Believe me, it brings me no joy and, in fact, some guilt to doubt you so. But I must be prepared for any eventuality. When needs must, I have made even my greatest enemy feel as though they are a trusted friend. Yet, at times I have also shown extreme suspicion towards those who were, in all manners, undeserving of it.
Yeah, I get it. Keep your cards close to the chest. Never let them know what you're actually thinking. You really are something, you know that? I'm just glad we're on the same side.
I must admit, I only tell you all this because I do, in fact, consider you deserving of my trust. Even if you were once connected to those who slithered in the dark, that is clearly behind you now. So believe me when I say, I have the utmost confidence in you.
After what you just told me, I think I'm actually more worried now. I bet that's not how you really feel.
I get the feeling that any attempt I make at explanation will only dig myself further into this hole. Enough on that, though. Our problem now is what lurks beneath your mind's veneer.
What do you mean?
I can sense another you, bubbling away behind the one you present to the world. Call it intuition. What really worries me is that you may one day shed this husk you bear now and become that someone else entirely.
Another me, huh? Well, I appreciate the concern, but even if that someone does exist, I won't let them overtake me. I mean, come on. I'd shove that other me right back where they came from and earn your trust once and for all. Though, just so we're clear, I don't think you have anything to worry about.
Very well. I suppose I will have to take your word. For now. In any case, I hope that as we inscribe Fodlan's new future, we do so with you by our side.
Well, there's a face I'm not used to seeing on the training grounds. Something wrong, Hubert?
I have merely come to examine the equipment. I hear whispers that it is in quite the state. Further, my being here should come as no surprise. Her Majesty and I train in these grounds often.
I never would have guessed. Can't say I'm not jealous, though.
Shall I put in a request with Her Majesty on your behalf? I'm quite certain she'd join you.
Oh, that's not what I meant. She's actually the one I'm jealous of. I mean, I never get to train with you.
Me? In any case, if you do desire a session with either myself or Her Majesty, you only need ask. A mercenary with no backing such as yourself has much to gain by earning Lady Edelgard's favor. Of course, we would not be without benefit. Your rise in standing would paint an ideal picture for our people.
How do you mean?
Many commoners crave progress, a path upward in life, and your example would prove that path exists. The common folk would never expect to see their emperor train alongside someone of your dubious origins. At least not outside the pages of a fairy tale.
Dubious origins, huh? Yeah, I guess you're not wrong. Even so, it feels good to think about using that to help lift people up.
On the other hand, your presence would also cause great turmoil amongst the elites of our society. They may even despise you. A symbol of the ungrateful commoner, granted privilege well beyond their station.
Oof. But hey, Dorothea's a commoner too. Why don't they hate her?
Dorothea is a famed former songstress, well esteemed in the upper echelons of society. Your situation is vastly different.
Right. Well, no point worrying about it if it's gonna happen no matter what.
Precisely. Things may yet change in the years ahead, but for now all we can do is live with it.
So coddling the elites means the commoners end up oppressed, while hoisting commoners up only agitates the elites. Glad I'm not the one who has to rule the Empire. This whole thing sounds like a total mess.
A mess, indeed.
In that case, you should just keep picking commoners like me for all the important jobs. Strength in numbers, right? The more of us there are, the less anyone will be able to complain.
I believe your point to be a sound one, but putting it into action will only heighten our chance of failure. Try as you may to troll a river for jewels, you will most often find yourself hauling up mere pebbles instead.
I get what you mean, I think. Accidentally picking the wrong person could really hurt the Emperor's reputation.
And provide the perfect opening for nobles who want nothing more than for commoners to be kept in their place. An utter disgrace. Here we stand amidst the flames of war, yet some on our side only seek to drag their compatriots down. There is no rot as fetid as that which plagues our foul aristocracy. It would not surprise me if they breathed noxious fumes.
Yeah, I guess they are pretty bad when you put it that way.
At any rate, it seems you must be the one to plow forward, for the time being.
Come again?
You are a mercenary, Captain, no? Surely there are worthy candidates for promotion among your subordinates. The situation would be far less volatile if any potential appointees came with your direct endorsement.
Oh good, no pressure at all. And if the person I pick doesn't work out?
Assuming they are not wholly indefensible, we would do our utmost to shield them from criticism. Though I suppose if worst came to worst, we would be forced to sever ties with them. And you.
I can respect that. Protecting the Emperor is priority #1.
Indeed. It is the first and only priority. Do note, though, you needn't force yourself to pick someone if you fear the consequences.
Right, got it. I guess in the meantime, I'll let you know if I think of anyone who might be able to handle the job. And oh, let's keep the whole severing ties thing to the real worst-case scenario, okay? You might look the calm and logical type, but I know your emotions can get the better of you sometimes.
A keener insight than I expected. Perhaps you truly are the right person for this task. Quite the eye you have on you.
Thanks. My vision's not too bad, I guess.
Now, if you could only pair it with some intellect, we would have a true wonder on our hands.
Why are you always doing that?
A question, if I may. Have you had any further contact with our slithering friends since that day?
Not in the slightest. Why? Do you know something?
Yes, actually. What with the riots in Rim territory and the former Duke Ayer's attempted rebellion. Thanks to that, we now have a lead on the insurgents within the Empire, as well as those who slither in the dark. Speaking to the latter, I also tried to determine if they had been attempting to reach you, or otherwise thought you an ally. But at present, it seems neither is the case, regrettably.
You and I have been talking a lot lately, Hubert. About the future of the Empire, promoting commoners. I would have hoped I'd earned your trust by now, but I guess that's not how this thing goes. Not to say I don't get where you're coming from. The Emperor's right-hand man can't afford to let his guard down.
Believe me, it brings me no joy and, in fact, some guilt to doubt you so. But I must be prepared for any eventuality. When needs must, I have made even my greatest enemy feel as though they are a trusted friend. Yet, at times I have also shown extreme suspicion towards those who were, in all manners, undeserving of it.
Yeah, I get it. Keep your cards close to the chest. Never let them know what you're actually thinking. You really are something, you know that? I'm just glad we're on the same side.
I must admit, I only tell you all this because I do, in fact, consider you deserving of my trust. Even if you were once connected to those who slither in the dark, that is clearly behind you now. So believe me when I say, I have the utmost confidence in you.
I'm not sure how much you really mean that, but I'm glad to hear you say it at least. Thanks, Hubert.
How very diplomatic. Just the response I would have expected from you. Enough on that, though. Our problem now is what lurks beneath your mind's veneer.
What do you mean?
I can sense another you, bubbling away behind the one you present to the world. Call it intuition. What really worries me is that you may one day shed this husk you bear now, and become that someone else entirely.
Another me, huh? Well, I appreciate the concern, but even if that someone does exist, I won't let them overtake me. I mean, come on! I'd shove that other me right back where they came from and earn your trust once and for all. Though just so we're clear, I don't think you have anything to worry about.
Very well. I suppose I will have to take your word. For now. In any case, I hope that as we inscribe Fodlan's new future, we do so with you by our side.
And what of the Archbishop's movements?
She has established herself in Camulus, a town south of Ferdiad, and shows no indication of leaving. The Knights of Ceres occasionally go to the front, but the Archbishop appears content to remain behind. A shame, really.
Well, we expected as much. It's unlikely that we'll have the opportunity to eliminate her without mounting a full-scale invasion of Blaidd territory.
We should have surrounded Garrick Mach and torn the place apart when we had the chance, no matter the cost to us. We may have squandered our greatest chance by not doing so.
Hubert, that idea came from Lord Arundel. That is to say, Tallis. And it's an impractical idea, at that. One based on unreliable experimental assets that had never been tested in battle. Besides, after breaking ties with him and his allies, we lacked the military capability to carry out an operation on such a scale.
True on both counts, Your Majesty. We took such bold steps to excise those who slither in the dark from the Empire, knowing full well the price we'd pay. Though it meant allowing the Archbishop to escape our grasp, I would venture to say that we ultimately came out in a better position because of it.
Unquestionably so. I'm certain Tallis and his ilk are dreaming up some villainy as we speak. But we're not beholden to them anymore. We are no longer complicit in their schemes.
I could not care less what I am or am not complicit in, Lady Edelgard. But I agree, you must not be. For your own sake and the sake of the Empire, it is vital that you remain unsullied and unencumbered.
When I proposed such drastic changes to our plan 2 years ago, I did so against your best counsel. And yet you made it work every step of the way. None of us would be where we are today if not for you, Hubert. I cannot thank you enough.
This is quite unlike you, Your Majesty. Are you feeling unwell? I assure you I feel ever appreciated. There is no need for you to speak such words aloud. Or perhaps this is meant to soften the blow of yet another drastic change of course?
Nothing like that, I assure you. I simply want you to know how much you are valued. This path I walk, I cannot walk it without you. I'm only able to press onward because I have you to open the way. There will always be a place for you by my side.
Are you certain there are no changes you wish to inform me of? I must insist that you hide nothing from me.
What? But I just said I'm not... Hubert, are you truly so incapable of accepting a simple word of thanks? Hubert, what do you make of the Ashen Demon?
Aside from having proven to be both impossibly powerful and a constant thorn in our side... Correction. Was a constant thorn in our side. I must admit the little terror has put in some fine work for the Empire recently.
We're fortunate to have gained so powerful an ally.
Why do you bring this up, Your Majesty? Is there something on your mind?
I'm not entirely sure myself. My apologies, Hubert. Pay me no mind. Like as not, I am overthinking the situation.
Surely you realize that telling me to pay this no mind only gives me greater cause for concern?
I didn't mean to worry you. I'm simply having trouble putting this feeling into words. I just felt... I don't know. As if something was drawing me to the Ashen Demon. I wonder, could it be the influence of my crest?
Your crest? Now I am truly becoming concerned.
Forget it. Whatever it means, we don't need to find out right away. We've a war to win first.
As you wish, Your Majesty. So long as you realize I will be taking the liberty to investigate this most thoroughly.
I thought you might say as much. Do as you must. Honestly, Hubert, you never change, do you? When I emerged from beneath the palace all those years ago, you acted as though nothing had happened. Do not worry, you said. I took the liberty to investigate while you were indisposed.
For the record, my blood was boiling. However, as there were others present, I kept still my tongue. I could not risk showing my anger, lest they find a way to turn it against you. My role to play is the cold, crafty, unreadable servant. I am happy with the casting, so let us leave it at that.
I'm certain you are. But just once I'd like to see our roles reversed.
Your Majesty, you cannot possibly be serious.
Not in the slightest. I'm well aware I am not cut out for the kind of work you do.
Nonsense. There is nothing beyond your capability. That said, I prefer you best when you are the one in charge. Command me as you see fit. No matter how daunting or impossible the task may be, I will come through every time without fail.
Thank you, Hubert. It's good to know that I can always rely on you.
So when it comes to precedent, that is the situation. Yes, I see.
Burning the midnight oil, are we? Such zeal.
Ah, Hubert! What are you doing here at this hour? Up to your usual intrigues behind Edelgard's back?
I would thank you not to make such blind and rude assumptions when you lack any basis for them.
Well, yes. I suppose I was making assumptions. You have my apologies.
Not at all. I am, in truth, up to my usual intrigues, so your amends are quite unnecessary.
Oh, all right then. Hold a moment. You were?
In any event, what are you reading with such vigorous intent?
Listen to me, Hubert.
A book of past judicial precedent, is it? Ah, and specifically concerning the prosecution of nobles.
Yes. I have a mind to settle matters with my father. The letter of the law considers rebellion a capital crime, but practically speaking, that is not the case. Members of the nobility are especially likely to be granted clemency, and all the more so in recent years.
Yes, they expiate their guilt by surrendering peerage, providing assets and information, and leaning on the strength of their past meritorious deeds. In short, the nobility make full use of every excuse available to hold tight to their miserable lives. One could pluck off their arms and legs and leave them to fester in the dankest of prisons, and they would still come wriggling back to the surface. So long as they are permitted to live, that is.
Like with the former Marquis Vestra?
That one did not serve his emperor properly, and acted in a manner easily construed as treasonous. This is incontrovertible fact.
Go on.
Sadly, he resisted arrest and lost his life in the unfortunate incident that ensued. His guilt, or innocence, on the matter of treason will remain forever shrouded in mystery.
That sounds like a careful bit of sophistry to me. It appears to anyone with half a mind that you thought him guilty and had him executed. As a noble, he should have been judged in public, as is right and proper, no?
So long as they are permitted to live, the noble creature struggles desperately to continue doing so. Such is ever their nature.
Which is precisely why I am investigating precedent. In order to block any means by which my father could escape justice. I will not allow him to stage a comeback. I will see my father properly judged for his crimes.
But could you, if matters came to that? I wonder.
It is not a question of can or cannot. The man will be dealt with, and by my hand. I could never forgive myself otherwise. Not as the inheritor of the title of Duke Ire, nor as the one to succeed him as Prime Minister.
It is for Her Majesty to decide such things. However, if it proves to be in Her Majesty's interest, I suspect this resolve of yours will be most welcome.
I suppose that will be enough for today.
Splendid spearwork. You are every bit the ideal of a nobleman. One who wields both lance and pen with equal aplomb.
Hubert, as ever, you manage to materialize when one least expects it. If you insist on showing up in the middle of training, do not complain if you find yourself mistakenly skewered.
Yes, accidents do so often happen during such exercises. Why, you could stab the life out of me here and now and still readily explain it away as a mere accident.
Enough, Hubert. Even if you are joking. Although, I suppose it was I who first spoke flippantly. You have my apologies.
I am ever at a loss to reply when you insist on apologizing so earnestly. In any event, your training has a certain ghastly quality about it of late. I found myself curious what it was that so impelled you, and came to check on the situation.
I should think it obvious. The climax of this war is upon us. Thus, I have to focus myself all the more and work vigorously toward ultimate victory. I do this for my comrades, for the Empire, and for a better future.
And perhaps for your departed father?
Why would you think that? The father I looked up to, the one who served as a pillar of the Empire, died long ago. The man we fought at Fort Merceus was nothing but a traitor who lost sight of how to live. At this point...
Listen to me, Ferdinand. If you wish to deny my claim, just tell me I am mistaken. As they say, those who protest overmuch admit the truth unwittingly.
That was not my intention. Yet I cannot deny there is a part of my heart which thinks exactly that.
You have changed. Well, no. Your true nature has not changed a bit. You are stubborn as ever, but there now also exists a rather flexible side to your personality.
And you never change. And have not since the days when I was an ignorant young man. Since that time, you have proceeded unerringly along this road at Edelgard's right hand. But now I'll walk that same path. And it is the two of you who stand at the vanguard.
If you have something to say, dispense with the flattery and speak plainly.
Fine. I mean to join you both at the forefront, so our Emperor will have loyalty at both her right and left. We shall be Hubert and Ferdinand, the twin jewels of the Empire.
The twin jewels of the Empire?
Was it truly so amusing?
Another clear victory for the Empire in battle. You can surely guess who stole the show yet again.
Our mercenary friend? Always a force upon the battlefield, that one.
Their approach on the battlefield is exceptional, yet their curious power has also proved quite the boon.
It is deeply fascinating, isn't it? Something beyond the principles of magic, and yet different from the power of crests. I might go so far as to say it veers close to the realm of dark magic, but I fear that's beyond my expertise.
I am possessed of some small knowledge, yet still fail to understand the nature of that power.
Then at present we can do nothing but throw our hands to the sky. And with that, I must be off.
Oh? I thought you would be more curious about our mercenary ally. Would you truly raise the white flag merely because the matter lies outside your usual ken?
What are you playing at, Hubert? If you want me to investigate a specimen, go ahead. Hook it and reel it in.
Ah, but you are the better angler of the two of us. Furthermore, my method of hooking would complicate our relationship with so valued an ally. An inducement from your lips would ensure things proceed more smoothly.
Well, this is becoming a hassle. Can't you push yourself to learn some new hooking strategies? Like, I don't know, one befitting the elegance of a true nobleman? Involving fancy tea, perhaps?
A positively hair-raising notion. Please, do not speak it aloud again.
Then maybe get in their face and pick a fight with them. You two could end up becoming fast friends.
So you wish me to shout myself hoarse and swing my fists about like a common ruffian? I shall pretend I did not hear that suggestion.
No? Then the only option left is aggressive persuasion, driven home at the point of an axe, let's say.
Linhardt, who in the world are you talking about right now? I should think there is no one quite so barbarous in our own army.
Oh, I didn't have anyone particular in mind. I was just brainstorming new methods to ensnare our illustrious mercenary friend. Why? Did they remind you of acquaintances of ours?
In any event, let us leave this sleeping dog where it lies. I do not dislike conversing with you, but we seem to procure results of little benefit when we do. And with that, I have matters to attend to and must be off. Farewell.
Until next time, Hubert. So when can I expect you to have reeled in our mercenary friend? I suspect we'd make headway on the research if we engaged in it together.
I'm afraid I've not the time to play along with your capricious whims, Linhardt. I will, of course, be cheering you on with some enthusiasm from the shadows as you hook the subject yourself.
Lord Hubert, we've located what appears to be an enemy scouting party in the forest near our base.
This is certainly a matter of concern. We will need to make immediate preparations to...
But the one who located them was... Caspar.
Ah, I see. Then what of our casualties? Also, did we manage to capture any of the enemy?
We've 3 lightly wounded, including Caspar. And I fear none were taken alive.
I suppose such things are wont to occur when charging headlong into the fray.
Hey, Hubert! Did you hear how I cleared out a few enemy spies?
I did indeed. And on top of getting several people injured, you failed to capture any of said spies. Had you first called for reinforcements before leaping into action, that could have been avoided.
And what if they'd gotten away while we waited? Also, didn't you say it was fine when my old man did the same thing before?
Reinforcements would be nothing but a hindrance to Count Burgley's. If he could not handle something himself, additional soldiers would do nothing more. Besides, he would not have suffered even the slightest injury in the process.
Hey, I'm barely scratched! Ah, forget it. I'll win your respect next time for sure.
Why do you ever insist on hurling yourself into danger at every opportunity? Clearly, some of the reason lies in your desire for military accolades, and yet... Let us take this most recent incident, for example. Had you summoned reinforcements, you would likely have received more plaudits for it. The capture of an enemy spy would have been a nice feather in your cap, as would coming home with fewer injured comrades.
Yeah, I don't know about all that. All I can say is that my gut told me to attack and I listened. And it wasn't a terrible result, so what's the problem?
The problem is whether or not your gut continues to avail you. If this instinct of yours is wrong even a single time, you will find a mound of dirt over your head.
Don't talk like that, Hubert. I might be aggressive, but I'm not angling to end up dead.
Your untimely demise would make trouble for me as well. Why, just think of the critical military manpower I would be sacrificing. Yet, at the same time, you and your gut mucking up carefully laid plans is cause for no less chagrin.
You think too much, you know that? I mean, if you want to make a name for yourself on the battlefield, you kinda have to accept the risk of death. I made the choice to distinguish myself in war in spite of that. But hey, you know what? If you think I'm gonna kick the bucket, go ahead and work that into your plans. Look, I know I'm your critical military manpower or whatever it was you said, but sometimes you've gotta win whether you have that manpower or not. Like I said, I'm not aiming to get myself killed, but I also know there are no guarantees in battle. Anyway, I figure that's gotta be the best way to make sure I don't end up being a burden for you. Oh, it's time for training. Gotta run, Hubert.
Placing your fate into my hands, are you? They say it is a fine line that separates the saint from the buffoon. How right they are. Ah, Bernadetta. I see the documents I was waiting for have finally arrived.
Hubert! I'm not doing anything bad!
Then would you be so kind as to hand those over? They are addressed to me, after all.
Oh, right. Edelgard asked me to bring them. Phew, that was heavy. What are all these documents anyway?
Old records of bandit activity in this area that I need for my investigation.
Hey, that reminds me. I heard we had a group of bandits cornered, but they sort of got away.
Yes, a most vexing development. It beggars belief that our troops prove unable to exterminate even these few stray vermin.
Wait, are you angry?
Oh, I doubt it is worth raising my ire over.
That's good. But you look like you're angry.
Bernadetta, are you aware of how your persistence often leads to the very outcome you wish to avoid?
Yes?
In any event, my mood is what it is because I must now locate a den of rats. I will need to research previous stomping grounds, then cross-reference the location of their old lairs in order to work out where this new one might be.
Wow, that sounds like a ton of work.
Yes, but there is nothing for it. These craven rats will not re-emerge once they've burrowed into their nests.
Hey, neat! I I definitely understand the desire to burrow in somewhere and never come out. But when there are festivals and stuff, they might slip up and leave? Maybe? Possibly? Everyone loves festivals, except when there are people around, which is usually the case.
Somehow I suspect you would not emerge for even the most magnificent of carnivals. However, you and the rats may differ on that point.
We do what now?
Yes, of course. Unlike you, these thieves have no particular desire to live away from others. We have had them on the run for some time, which means they've not been able to earn coin through their usual underhanded work. Thus, if I were to prepare a place where they could cut a few easy purses, they might consider the spoils to be worth the risk.
Okay.
And the bait shall be a festival. Due to the war, we have not held a genuine festival for quite some time, after all. So even if we do not capture the rodents, and it merely brings much-needed succor to the people, I would still consider it a success. Well done, Bernadetta. You have come up with a splendid idea that eluded even myself.
Why are you complimenting me out of nowhere? Are you plotting against me?
Not particularly, no. Although I am thinking I will require your assistance in this matter from now on.
No! Someone free poor Bernie from this torment! I wonder when I'll be able to return to Enbar.
Greetings, Dorothea. I hope I'm not intruding.
Oh, you're fine. I was just having myself a little think. So, what do you need?
I come with a matter involving the opera company of which you were once a member.
What's wrong? What happened?
Nothing drastic, I assure you. A letter addressed to you arrived, and finding myself with a moment to spare, I decided to deliver it personally. And as I was also hoping to speak with you about the company, the trip serves a dual purpose.
Okay, don't scare me like that, Hubert. I figured something awful had happened since you were coming here in person.
My apologies. Let your heart be at ease. Now then, I wish to discuss the matter of your return to the opera company.
I'm pretty sure I said I wasn't going back.
That is not what I refer to. Well, it is and it isn't. You have no love of violence, and in fact care little enough for it that the mere sight of someone in pain nearly rends your poor heart in two. Further, I am aware that you received numerous invitations to return to the company. Despite that, you continue to remain here on the front lines of the war. I find this choice curious.
Okay, that's a fair point. I honestly have given some thought about returning to the company. Touring across the land with them and using music to heal weary hearts sounds wonderful. And if I did make that choice, it would be a different way to help Edelgard and everyone else. You agree, right?
Indeed. I should think it terribly useful work.
But even so, I can't abandon the actual fight when all of you are still here.
The thought of being safe and sound while my friends risk their lives isn't something I'm comfortable with. Does that make sense?
It does. And I even share your feelings to a degree. However, we could always summon your opera company to the front so that you could use your diva talents to motivate our troops. Surely you have considered this possibility?
You really see through everything, Hubie. It's vexing. But fine, there's another reason. I want to support 80 as a commoner. If I were here in the position of an opera diva, I wouldn't be treated like one anymore. I want to be here fighting as a representative of the peasant class. However selfish it might be, I feel this is the best way to help 80 as she tries to erase the gap between nobles and commoners.
Well, this is a surprise. You choose the path of hardship for the sake of your emperor. Truly, I have undersold your resolve.
Oh, but there is one more reason.
Still more.
There are quite a few young nobles here. Dependable ones with quality futures ahead of them. And they're a lot more attractive than the doormats who flutter about us divas in the capital.
Yes, that does seem important. You are stronger than I gave you credit for, Dorothea. And you have earned my respect this day. Ah, Petra. Fancy running into you here. How are you acclimating to life in Her Majesty's army? We are constantly traveling all across Fodlan, so I'm sure there is a lot to adjust to.
I find myself being cold often, but the others have shown great kindness in telling me what to expect. I have no troubles.
Marvelous. I want nothing more than for you to fit in and feel comfortable. Know that there is a permanent place for you in this army, if you so desire.
No, I will be returning to Brigid when the war is finished. I am going to be queen. That day is approaching with quickness.
Yes, I am very much aware. And upon your coronation, Brigid will be released from its vassalage to the Empire. Her Majesty and your grandfather have agreed to this in secret.
For having consideration of Brigid's interests, I give Lady Edelgard and Duke Gert my gratitude.
As I understand it, the Minister of Foreign Affairs pursued this particular policy most vigorously. He has met with far more success, now that Lord Arundel is no longer around to impede him. I might even go so far as to say the Duke looks like a new man.
A new man? No, he's still being the same man.
Well, yes. I suppose you have me there. Regardless, I do hope that you can forgive us. Though we would very much like to make our agreement with Brigid public, doing so now would be most unwise.
I have understanding. The war of 7 years ago still has freshness in the minds of many. You do not want to give them cause for anger when this war has not reached its finish yet.
I'm glad you appreciate the situation, as I was certain you would.
But all in Brigid have knowledge of our agreement. Every man, woman, and child. If it is broken, they will have knowledge of that as well. Blood would be spilling.
Petra! Was that a threat?
Not a threat, a concern. I know I can place trust in the word of the Empire. The Emperor would never be breaking a promise, Would she, Hubert?
I beg your pardon, Queen Petra. Clearly I failed to realize that you had already ascended the throne. Rest assured, our promise will be kept. If Her Majesty and yourself are any example, the Empire and Brigid will support each other and walk into the future side by side.
And I have certainty that you will be there, witnessing it.
Surrender now, and I will spare your life.
You're all alone, fancy boy. What you gonna do?
Oh, you are positively brutal.
She seemed to be reaching for a weapon. It is better to have safety than sorrow. Also, she would not have told you any information of usefulness. You have knowledge of this.
As she is now nothing more than a corpse, I cannot be certain of anything. However, I must admit she appeared to be going for her blade. You have my gratitude.
There is no need for thanks. I have awareness that you could have been dealing with that assassin yourself.
Perhaps. Still, I must say I have never hidden atop a tree just in case I needed to put an arrow into someone's back. I must try it sometime. I imagine such tactics are part and parcel for a woman of Brigid, though I am a touch surprised a queen would resort to them.
Why does it give you surprise? It is the tactic of most cleverness. You can attack with safety and with clear shots at the enemy's vitals. Or are you thinking that a queen should not be like her people?
Oh no, not in the slightest. In fact, I can think of no wiser strategy than for a queen to position herself somewhere safe. Fodlan's history is littered with foolish rulers who have gleefully ridden off to their own deaths. All in the name of the ludicrous, contemptible concept they call chivalry.
Chivalry? Ah, yes, that is the code for the knights. There are no knights of Brigid. We have agreement that they are without sense. But in Fodlan, I have been reading many books about chivalry. It is a code without point, yet it is followed by many. I do not have understanding of the reasoning.
Well, knightly deeds make for good tales, and tales have a way of stretching very easily. Over time, it is likely that people let go of the fact while happily embracing the fiction. Perhaps Fodlan once enjoyed an era of peace just long enough for that fantasy to take root.
Interesting. It is peace we are wishing for, but also peace that is making us weak. I am not wanting my land of home to be weak, but I am wanting it to have peace. The meaning of this is that chivalry may be coming to Brigid one day.
Despite my grumbling, it is not a system completely without use. For example, it serves well enough for keeping otherwise unruly warriors under control. Still, one advantage cannot make up for a host of failings. At the end of the day, it is a poor belief system at best.
I will be keeping your words in my mind as I attempt to create an era of peace.
Yes, be gone with the tired old ways and usher in a new age for all. That is what we are fighting for.
you are, Hubert. I have been searching everywhere for you.
And to what end? Has Her Majesty summoned me?
Oh, she would never use me for a task like that. I just wanted to thank you, albeit reluctantly.
I do not recall having done anything that would merit such a sincere display of gratitude.
Well, you probably just saw it as part of your normal administrative duties. You fixed quite a big mistake in my last report before Her Majesty had the chance to look at it. I woke up in a panic when I realized what I had done. Imagine how mortified I was to see you'd already corrected everything.
Ah, yes. I may have done something of the sort. As Her Majesty's loyal servant, it is my duty to pare down the number of unnecessary matters which wander across her desk. I must say, I was surprised to see you make such a foolish and obvious error. Have you truly grown so lax, even as you style yourself the greatest of our Emperor's retainers?
I'm aware of the mistake I made, but I would never dream of calling myself something like that. Well, perhaps I said it once or twice in the heat of the moment, but I never actually meant it. If anyone is Her Majesty's best retainer, it's you. And without House Vestra's say-so, I could never become one of her servants.
At present, I very much doubt you are fit to serve as Her Majesty's servant.
Excuse me?
It is true that I did not make a conscious choice to serve Her Majesty at first. Instead, I simply did it because my father decreed it must be so. But such bounds no longer define our relationship. I do not serve the Emperor. My loyalty is to Lady Edelgard, and her alone. I stand with her in a manner that goes beyond the bounds of ruler and servant. Do you understand this?
I want to be like that with Her Majesty as well. But I am only the child of a baron, so I don't have excuses to linger in the palace all the time. I have to return to my family's estate once I've fulfilled my duties for the day, and I get summoned back to our territory often. I am not like you. I cannot just be at her side unless I have a good reason to be there.
Indeed. Ox territory is in the far west of the Empire. I surmise you have had to spend much of your time away from Enbar. Furthermore, you will be a baron one day. Your duties will prevent you from dedicating yourself solely to Her Majesty.
Exactly. Unlike you, I have an entire territory's worth of people to protect. But I still won't give up. Even from afar. No. Precisely because I'll be afar, there will be things I can do to protect Her Majesty. In fact, always being at her side might actually cause you to overlook threats from time to time. I may even serve Her Majesty in a way you never could.
That is a promising thought, Monica.
Oh, what a mess. I've really done it this time. Her Majesty is the kindest person I know, so she's likely not upset with me, but I still cannot bring myself to face her.
Hello, Monica. What brings you to this particular wall for conversation?
What do you want, Hubert? I lack the energy to keep you company right now, so please just leave me alone.
Very well. I thought you might be interested to know that Lady Edelgard was overcome with grief as she told me how deeply she regrets wounding you with her words. But as you desire solitude, I will endeavor to keep that to myself. Good day.
She did? And wait, did you not just tell me what she said?
Oh, not at all. I was merely speaking to myself.
There was a painting in Her Majesty's chambers, and subtlety is not my strong suit, to put it lightly. I asked her whose child had scribbled on such an expensive canvas, before realizing Her Majesty had actually painted it herself. So she didn't hurt me, I hurt her. Oh, I'm so ashamed.
Lady Edelgard can be quite sensitive, despite how she carries herself. Perhaps she was so stunned by your comment that she made a hurtful one of her own in the heat of the moment. You need not let it weigh upon you. Such events are commonplace for me as well.
You amaze me, Hubert. How are you not beside yourself at Her Majesty's every utterance? I know I said that I wanted to become her servant, but now I think it may be impossible. Her Majesty is so radiant. I'm not sure I possess the fortitude to bask in that glow every minute of the day. Perhaps some distance between us is better for me.
Do you truly believe that? Even though you now have an opportunity to become her servant?
Wait, I do?
Once this war is settled, Her Majesty will endeavor to tear down the entire concept of the nobility. Her first action will be to separate territory from title, making it so that being a noble no longer means one must lord over some plot of land somewhere. Once she does this, I rather suspect you could remain at her side, even if you do inherit your family's title.
You're right. How could I have failed to realize that? I have heard her talk about her plans so many times before, but I never considered what an impact it would have on me. I am such a fool.
Not at all. You simply illustrate what it is to be part of the established system. One is not easily shaken from its structure. This is why Her Majesty takes such drastic measures to rid us of the accepted practice of categorizing individuals as either noble or common.
Honestly, I don't believe there is another more suited to serving Her Majesty than you. But I still will not give up. I'm going to become her servant too, and show everyone a new way of life for the nobility, and for whatever lies beyond. Which means I cannot simply stand here in this state of indecision. There is much work to do.
I suspected she might be stopped in her tracks for but a moment. And indeed, she has gone and left me in the dust. Well, I cannot permit myself to be left behind in such a fashion. I must keep making progress of my own.
It's sad how we have so few research materials here at the base. And in addition...
What luck that we might encounter each other at this late hour, Lysithea.
Don't scare me like that, Hubert! You're terrifying enough under normal circumstances, let alone when you're creeping about like a spider.
I should hardly think myself any more frightening than the disembodied spirit people have reported seeing night after night.
A spirit? So the spirit was sighted around here then? Nearby?
Oh yes, quite near to this training center. It is a positively frightful tale.
Just remembered A thing. Important thing. Biggest. I gotta go. Good night. Don't follow me.
Positively frightful, I say, them calling my light a disembodied spirit. Wouldn't you agree? Oh dear. She left before I could finish.
We've barely had any vegetables with our meals lately. It's honestly kind of nice. Huh? What's going on over there?
Then they've not noticed?
Not at all. While preferences vary, there tend to be many people who love meat and dislike vegetables. But to think we found a way to hide the vegetables in all of that delicious meat and broth. Those who ate it found it delicious without being any the wiser. And of course, she did as well.
That is splendid news. Pray continue then.
Wait! Did I just eat a bunch of vegetables?
Goodness, Lysithia, you look positively gobsmacked. Did you have yourself a recent surprise, perhaps?
So many vegetables. Ah! Hubert! It's nothing. I'm busy. Gotta go!
It really is sad how much time I spend trying to make vegetables palatable for people. Oh well. I suppose I should just consider it part of managing our soldiers' health. Lysithia, you seem to be in high spirits.
I certainly am. Edelgard told me that I was gonna get some delicious sweets today. Wait, why am I even talking to you about this?
You might find yourself without any sweets whatsoever if you continue to treat me so cruelly. After all, I am the one tasked by Her Majesty with the honor of giving them to you.
Then why didn't you open with that, Hubert? Hand them over.
First, permit me to brew a suitable tea to accompany them.
Huh? The Empire sweets truly are a delight.
Might I interest you in a cup of coffee? It cuts through the sweetness of the treats perfectly.
No, I'm good. Honestly, I don't understand how you can drink that all the time. It's so bitter.
Well, I suppose one with a youthful tongue would not care for it. Yet the bitterness, the deep richness, the subtle acidity... Oh, and I'm not treating you like a child here. I am merely discussing different palates.
I'm not a child, and neither is my tongue. Now give me some of that coffee.
Are you all right, Lysithia? Here, wipe your mouth. I fear that attempt was ill-advised. If you wish to enjoy coffee, you must first modify it to your liking. Perhaps we might try adding sugar and goat's milk. It would mellow the flavor and add sweetness.
Yes, please. There's something I'm curious about, Hubert.
And what might that be?
Why are you being so kind and indulgent to me and only me? Compared to how you treat other people, it's clearly strange.
And what if I were doing so because Her Majesty had commanded me to pay particular attention to you?
Huh? She did? I mean, even if she did do that, you're still being far nicer to me than you have to be.
If I tell you, you must not breathe a word of it to anyone. I will erase you if this gets out. Permanently.
You'll erase me? Well, all right. I promise to keep it a secret until the day I die. Is that good enough?
It will do. I have a younger sister, one the same age as you. The pair of you have similar personalities, so perhaps I end up doting on you for this reason.
You have a sister? Why doesn't anyone know?
I conceal my family's existence as much as possible to avoid their becoming a liability. I also have a mother and little brother. Yet you certainly do not know the first thing about them either.
I suppose it would be strange for a noble like yourself to not have a single relative. Still, it's surprising you'd keep it under wraps from even your close friends and comrades.
It is my business. Regardless, I imagine that is the reason I unconsciously end up favoring you as I do.
So you aren't treating me as a child, but a little sister? Well, if that's the case, and considering how much older you are than me, I suppose I can allow it.
Oh, but that will not do. My sister would be most indignant if I were to treat anyone other than her as such. Ergo, I will simply have to exercise more caution and refrain from treating you as anything other than a normal child.
If it would make your sister upset, then... What do you mean, treat me like a child?
Oh dear, I let it slip. It appears my tongue is the one that still has some maturing to do. Ah, happy. How are you finding your time in the Imperial Army?
Pretty normal, I guess. It's nice to be around a lot of people I don't know.
Excellent. For if you were dissatisfied, it could lead to an accident. And I would find that most vexing.
Oh, I have my dissatisfactions. Like the way you're talking to me right now, for starters. But if I sighed over every little thing that bothered me, I'd be dead before I took another breath.
Yes, quite true. By the by, have you considered my proposition? Though I am loath to discuss it, I am a firm believer in using every resource to its utmost.
I don't know. It feels pretty unethical, even if it is technically something we can do. And did you spare a single thought for how I might feel being used like that?
I actually made the proposal based on my estimation of your feelings. I imagine you would enjoy sighing for a greater cause, seeing as you are never able to unleash them freely.
And why exactly would I want to sigh, huh?
As I am not you, I have no answer to that question. I simply thought it might be unpleasant. Being the only one prohibited from performing an action others do as a matter of course, that is.
Right. Well, no, it isn't. And if you're really approaching this thing without considering my feelings, you're so far off the mark I don't know what to tell you.
My, I just thought the woman would enjoy breathing a literal sigh of relief. And to do so in a way where our forces make use of the monster she summons, where is the harm? Alas, I suspect I am in for another mocking at the hands of Her Majesty for how often people mistake me for a heartless cad.
The Bert? Again? Ugh.
Happy. Now that you are calmer, I thought perhaps we might share some tea and treats. But if you're not interested, I am content to deal with them myself.
You really want me to buy into this plan of yours, huh? I told you the answer's no. Now stay away from me.
I assure you, I have no such ulterior motive here.
Liar.
Yes. Well, I can see any further conversation will be fruitless. In that case, I bid you good day. Had I known this would all be for me, I would have made coffee instead of tea.
Huh? What's coffee?
It does not concern you. Pray forgive my intrusion.
Yeesh. Just being near that guy makes me want to sigh.
That will be all. Speak to the individual in charge for further details.
Are we really still doing this? I told you, I'm not mad anymore.
But were I to run my mouth excessively, I might well end up angering you again. And as it seems even my apologies can produce misunderstandings, I suspect the pair of us are sadly ill-matched.
That wasn't your fault. I should have accepted your apology. I was just being stubborn. Wait, that smell. Is that coffee?
You know of it, then? You did not seem familiar when I mentioned it the other day.
Coco made me some recently, and it was delicious. Sounds like it's pricey, though. There was only enough for me to have 1 cup. Is that what you usually drink?
Inasmuch as it serves as my substitute for tea, yes. However, I find it strange that Constance would consider the price of coffee to be an impediment, given how highly she is compensated.
Probably because she's always blowing her coin on materials for her latest experiments.
I see. Well then, allow me to invite you not to a tea party, but a coffee party.
Wait, are you sure? Because I'm in if you're buying. This is so good! I just can't get enough of that bitterness.
Yes, coffee has a full-bodied richness which cannot be enjoyed in any other beverage, to say nothing of the wondrous aroma.
Actually, I think the smell on this is stronger than the one Coco made me.
As with tea, there are many ways to brew coffee. A noteworthy feature of the beverage is that the final product can vary greatly depending on the degree to which the beans have been roasted.
Sorry, beans? This has beans in it? Come to think of it, Coco did mention something about how she had to massacre some beans to make hers.
I assume you speak of the grinding process. I must say, I am surprised that you enjoy coffee. It is most unexpected that we would have this in common. There are many who dislike it, and some among that number even go so far as to criticize it as no more than hot bean water.
Ah, too bad. Looks like it's gone.
There is more. By all means, help yourself.
Really? Don't mind if I do. If only I could feel this relaxed all the time. Uh-oh.
How foolish of me. To think that I, of all people, did not anticipate such an outcome. Though it is certainly better than a sigh of displeasure. Regardless, I believe we have some monsters to dispatch.
I called them, so I should deal with them. Consider it a bit of light exercise after all that coffee.
Ah! Monsters! Monsters everywhere!
I shall take it upon myself later to mislead them as to the cause of this sudden attack.
Thanks, Bert. Now let's get to it.